welcome back to the Devil's Den. Man, quite a season we are having so far, Chris. Chris, how we doing, man?
Doing all right, Uh, been a rough couple weeks, but possible good future parts of the season to look forward to.
Indeed, indeed. A lot has happened since we last spoke on the
Yeah,
channel. Can't lie, it's
yeah.
been a brick, but we're here, we're talking, and now we have a new manager, and our old manager, Eric Ten Hag, he is no longer here. Chris, what are your thoughts on this?
I hate to say it, but it was coming. As much as I was a Ten Hag supporter and I wanted him to succeed here, the results they weren't coming, the performances weren't there. He couldn't control the squad. He couldn't really build his, identity. We weren't playing consistently, so it was about time from the horrific start to this season we've had. It's like 9 goals scored or 8 goals under Ten Hag in the Premier League in like 8 or 9 games. So it's not a great start for him, especially on the back of a promising end with the FA Cup win and the board trusting him to take on the team into the next season to build his identity. And they gave him some time, and yeah, it didn't work out. So it had to be done, in my opinion, but definitely sad to see him go.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever really thought, especially as this season has been going along, the more and more we saw of the team, the more and more I was like, oh gosh, it's really not working out under Ten
Yeah.
Hag.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it was a flaw from him trying to fully implement his style, because as we've seen throughout his time at United, he's kind of had to cater to the players that he's had. And at Ajax he had a system where you didn't know majority of the players as superstars, and they weren't the big faces, and they weren't getting this the recognition they might have been getting at if they were at United. But these players were perfect for his system, and they worked out for his system. But you never really fully saw a consistent time where we were like, oh yeah, Ten Hag's got this system he's implemented. The players seem to be getting behind it. It seemed like he kind of catered to a lot of the players and a
Yeah.
lot of the needs that the players had, which, in my opinion, that's not something you should do. But it is Manchester United, and a lot of these players are well known. A lot of these players have a lot of power, and we've seen. I mean, there's been players that have been Marcus Rashford, Luke Shaw, players like that have been in the squad for so many managers now. I mean, Marcus Rashford, he's survived what, like five, six, seven. I don't even know how many managers he's been with,
A
but
lot. A lot.
players like that, like a lot of these guys have had to cater to, and I feel like that kind of hindered Ten Hag's ability to do anything when it came to implementing his style. So we never really saw, you know, a semblance of some type of actual style. We never really saw pressing like that. A lot of teams, even it really frustrated me because even some of the teams that you wouldn't expect to be pressing were pressing us, and we wouldn't press them back.
Yeah.
And so it was really frustrating. And I mean, like you said, 3 wins, 4 losses, and 2 draws this season for Ten Hag while he was in the Premier League. It's just it's terrible. It's not up to the standard. 13th in the table. You simply can't have that. And I know we're
Yeah.
only 10 games in, but it wasn't looking like stuff was going to change. It was not looking like,
Hmm.
oh, you know what? We're only 6 points away from Chelsea. So although we're in 13th, we're only 6 points away from Chelsea, and they're higher up the table, and we're not that far away from top four if you look at it points wise. But it was not looking like stuff was going to change. I mean, there was a moment where I was watching the Porto match, and I was like, okay, we're up 2-0, we're playing pretty well, and I was like, hey, maybe Ten Hag is up to something. But then, of course, back to earth.
Yeah.
Porto scores 3 goals unanswered until we score our final goal that Maguire saved us in that
Maguire.
match.
Maguire.
But still, 3 draws in the Europa League, a competition that a team like Manchester United should be dominating, and they should at least
Definitely.
be getting a lot more wins. I mean, 3 draws against Porto is a decent side, yeah, but we played against Twente. What was it, Twente? I don't
Yeah.
even know how to pronounce them.
Twente, I think,
And then we played against,
and
who was it, Fenerbahce
Fenerbahce.
with Jose
I mean,
Mourinho, and
that's
oh my,
always going to be that's a tough game to
yeah,
go
but
away
it's
to.
it's but you would expect a club like Manchester United to be able to go in
Yeah.
and really like actually get a result. I don't know, it just was very uninspiring. He had clearly lost the locker room. I mean, I don't think much was going for Ten Hag, so it kind of seemed like it was his
Yeah,
time to
and
go.
like for the players that he had at his disposal, a lot of that team was his. Like he really got back by the board. He was able to get his signings in, albeit not like everyone he wanted, but he was able to like build a strong backbone from the goalkeeper, defense, midfield, and strikers. He brought in two young strikers. Like he did get a lot of say into building his team, and the board did listen to him and backed him. So they were very supportive of him in his time here. And we did never saw that consistency because there were times when we played really well and we were like, wow, these players are quite good and they can play well together. And then the next game they would just abandon everything they did in the previous game, and it was very frustrating as a Man United fan to just watch that for an entire year and a half after it kind of all fell apart around after like the League Cup final win in 23, like around that Liverpool loss, the 7-0, like that's when things started to kind of slowly go downhill. And then last season was abysmal. So um yeah, just consistency was the main issue with Ten Hag and not being able to build a strong identity and then make performances go in the long term that were good and could compete with the highest teams.
Yeah, and not to mention, I mean, I don't know how much of it was actually his fault or not, but there were so many injuries throughout his time at United, and
Oh yeah.
certain coaches. Yeah, I mean, I remember when Mauricio Pochettino was at Chelsea, and my brother's a big Chelsea fan, and he would tell me that all these Chelsea players would get injured during his time there, and there was reports that Pochettino was overworking them and stuff. And I don't know exactly how it was at Manchester United, how it was behind the scenes, but I don't know whether it's the players are just weak and they didn't want to run as much, things like that. But it seemed just like injury after injury after injury, and we even got literally we got like a new medical team, and we got some
Yeah.
guy Driscoll, I think, from Arsenal, who's
Oh,
supposed to
the
be a
Arsenal
really good
guy.
head physio. And bro,
He
like
screwed us over.
he's doing an inside job or something. Because like, what are we doing? These injuries
Yeah.
just never left, and it was just absolutely abysmal how many injuries we had. And Luke Shaw is
Hmm.
just he's a great player, but these last I don't even know like this last year it's just been difficult for him to even get a match in. And then Tyrell Malacia, like who even is that? You know what I mean?
Don't even
Like
know. I don't even know who that
Mason
is.
Mount, we signed him for a lot of money, and he's barely played
Did
for us.
did
He's
not
played
have an
maybe
injury
5 or 6
record. Did not
games.
have an injury record at Chelsea. He was never
Yeah,
injured. He was never
what
injured at
happened
Chelsea,
there?
and now he's probably played around 15% of like the time he's been available for it. It's like insane how it we can have have so many injuries. I know a lot of teams go through injury problems, but I mean to see that it on the scale that we've seen it is it's I've never seen it before. I really haven't.
Yeah, it's wild. And a team like Manchester City or Chelsea or I don't know about Liverpool or Arsenal as much, but those two teams, Chelsea, like I said, had injuries, but they could deal with it
Hmm.
because they had such a deep squad. And
Yeah.
with us, I
Yeah.
mean, we've got I don't know if I'd say deep squad, but we've got some players there that I'm like, okay, I trust them to come in and do a shift if if our starter got injured or whatever. But like, I don't know, man. It's just we can't afford to have the amount of injuries we had. Manchester City right now, they're actually going through a little bit of an injury crisis, but they've for the last I don't even know like 5 6 years, they've barely had any injuries. And whenever they do have injuries,
Hmm.
De Bruyne has had some troubles sometimes, but you've never seen it really affect them because they have just such a deep squad. And
their
Pep is
their
Pep.
their B team Nick, would finish like very high up in the Premier League. So it's you don't have to worry about City's injuries because there's always someone who can come in and fulfill that role perfectly. Whereas you don't see that as much with United. So
Oh, for sure. I mean, you put players like Casemiro had to play center back for some of our
yeah,
matches last season. It's just
we
like,
had an
what do we?
absurd number of center back pairings last season, like different combinations of the back four. It's was insane. How I mean, you have to. That's where you can kind of give Ten Hag like you can feel a little bit bad for him because how do you build like I was just talking about consistency and building these good performances. How do you do that consistently when you have a different back four every match? I know you're rotating them around in training, but like it's hard to like develop a system and identity when you're always working with different pairings of players and stuff. So it's very difficult. He did not have it easy, and he did his best. So like I really don't want to fault him for anything, but yeah, it is what it is. There's not much you can do
Yeah,
about it.
it is what it is. But if you look back at his time as a manager, I mean, there's so many crazy things that happened in terms of his first season was really a really great season. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
the comeback against Barcelona. There's just so many iconic comebacks and so many times where he subbed somebody on and it just ended up being a masterclass. And it was
Hmm.
just, oh man, like who is he going to sub on now to win the game for us, or when's Rashford going to score? Because Rashford was scoring like a madman in his first
Yeah.
season with Ten Hag, and so I was just, oh yeah, this is the guy, and then
Hmm.
stuff happened with Ronaldo, stuff happened with
My
Sancho,
God.
and so
Yeah.
yeah, you saw him clashing, and I don't know whether I'd like to get your take on this too, but I think that it's good to see those sort of clashes, in my opinion, because no player should be bigger than the club. And although yes, it's Ronaldo, GOAT, legend, respect him, but if he's gonna act the way he was acting, I don't. I liked to see that Ten Hag was pushing back on him and wasn't just fully faltering to him, because Ronaldo was declining while he was at the club. And then players like Sancho, I mean, Sancho was
Hmm.
just not putting the performance he was putting in at Dortmund for United. So I don't know why. I really don't understand why there was United fans defending Sancho, because I wanted Sancho to succeed, but with the attitude he had, it was just not working out. And as a coach, I mean, there's only so much you can do when a player has such a poor attitude. So I mean, I kind of think he handled that situation as best he could. I'm not entirely sure if there was any way he could have done better there, but
Yeah. And Ten Hag, remember he sent Sancho away for a couple months to kind of like regain himself. I think he was going through some personal things at the time. So he was like, take your time and regroup, get your thoughts together and come back when you're fully like emotionally fit again to put in your best work in training. And then when he came back, it still wasn't putting in that extra effort, and he still was being lazy in training. I mean, this is what Ten Hag was saying. I mean, and I believe him. I don't want to say he was lying about that, but I think the thing what people were saying, the people defending Sancho were saying Ten Hag was like coming too harshly in the media about it, and he was like calling Sancho out and stuff. But I mean, he did give him his chance, and he was very transparent with him, and he gave him a lot of time. So it's it's tough when you're dealing with these players, especially at a club like Manchester United, when the media is like constantly pounding you and asking you questions all the time. And it's for this club of size of Man United, it's hard. It's very difficult to deal with those big players, big personalities, and big issues. So you have that, and then you have, actually managing the football team and implementing your tactics and your style. So he was juggling with a lot of things, definitely at his time here.
yeah, and I think too one thing we got to think about is that before Ineos came in, Ten Hag also was pretty integral when it came to negotiations for players and stuff. And he was, I mean, we obviously don't know exactly what was going on behind the scenes, but reports were that he was kind of having his hand fully into the transfer plan and all that sort of thing. And I think it's good that a manager is able to pick who he wants, but at the same time, I think he needs to focus on the tactics and he needs to tell the board, hey, look, I need this profile of player, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I prefer this guy or that guy, but like I don't know. The reports that came out was saying that he was just so adamant on certain players like Anthony and, bringing in
Yeah.
players from
Onana,
the Dutch.
Martinez, a lot of his
Yeah.
Ajax side came along with him.
Yeah. Which is fine, I guess, but I think he needed to focus less on that and more focus on the tactics and implementing those sorts
Yeah,
of things. And
I
I think we need a big personality as our manager, because and I like that, like I was saying earlier, he was going against Ronaldo, he was going against Sancho sometimes. He wasn't just fully letting them push him around, but I think sometimes he did falter to, or not, he catered to certain players like Rashford and other players for their style. When I want a big personality come in, and I want a guy who knows what he wants to do, and he gets the players he wants to have, or he says to a player, "Hey, look, if you're not gonna do what I want you to do, then you're gone." Like that's what Pep Guardiola does, and
hmm
you see players like who's it? João Cancelo left, and Mahrez left, and Leroy Sané left. Players like that, like big players. I mean, really good players
yeah,
that help them win the league lots of times, and Pep Guardiola is not. He's he's saying, hey, if you want to leave, you can leave. If you don't want to do what I want you to do, get out. I need Manchester United to have a manager just like that. And so, I mean, with Ten Hag, I think he kind of, especially with the Glazers in place, he kind of just catered to a lot of the players and didn't really, I don't know, didn't really put his tactics fully imprinted into the club. I mean, yeah, he tried to get the players from Ajax that he wanted, but even then, like they just were not playing nearly as good as they were at Ajax. And
Hmm.
the thing is, Ajax is a completely different club, and the Dutch league is a completely different league. So obviously, you're going to have to change your tactics up a little bit because the Premier League is one of the most physical leagues in the entire world, and there's so many big teams in the Premier League. It's not just a few teams. So for a manager like Ruben Amorim, he's going to have a big task because the Portuguese league is definitely a huge step down from the Premier League, and he knows that. I mean, I think he was in an interview recently for before the Champions League match against Manchester City that Sporting have, and he was talking about how in the Premier League you're playing these insanely good teams pretty much week in and week out, and in
Hmm.
the Portuguese league he was saying that there's really three main teams, Porto, Sporting, and Benfica, and the rest of the teams they're not bad per se, but they're just they're not up to the level of the
Yeah.
Premier League. So he has got a big task ahead of him, and I'm excited. I hope he comes in, and I hope he really just tells the players, hey, look, if you don't want to be part of the team, if you want to be part of my tactics, you can hit the road and we will find you a new club or something like that. Because we need somebody who's ruthless, who gets the deadwood out and who implements their ideas on day one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on the new appointment?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that they lined it up so quickly. They had someone in place because when we were dis or when Ineos were discussing sacking Ten Hag at the end of last season, they had some potential candidates lined up, and I don't believe Amorim was one of them. So I don't know how long they've been tracking him, how long he's been on their radar, but pretty quickly, it was only a couple days, I think, between when Ten Hag got sacked and Amorim was announced. So they seem to have had a lot of talks going on, and they have a plan in place. So this is the guy that they're going with, and the guy that they believe is gonna, build a strong identity here and get us back to winning games and hopefully salvage our season. Because right now it's not looking like we're gonna do anything. But it's early, November 4th today. It's like early in the season, so there's still time. So I think they do want to try to get stuff salvaged and get him in. And I don't know if we'll see his stuff in January or he'll get the full summer to get some players in, but we'll see.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things on whether it was good for him to come in now or not. We still have to wait till after the international break. So Rude is going to be the manager for, I guess, the
Yeah,
next two matches,
he
I
has two
believe.
two matches. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I personally think it's a good time to be bringing him in because I'm tired of the whole interim manager type thing. And I don't like,
Hmm.
we had Ole as the interim, and then we were like, oh, well, the new manager bounce worked and Ole seems to know what he's doing. Let's put him in. And then we had to have him, and we had him for how many, 2 seasons after that? I
Two
don't even,
2.5
yeah.
seasons. Well, I
Yeah.
guess three
So
seasons. It was more like four.
I can't even remember.
I
It
don't
was a
know.
while ago.
It
But
was it
yeah,
was a couple seasons.
I'm glad that they had him lined up. And I mean, he was a pretty sought after guy. I know Liverpool was looking at him this past summer after
Hmm.
Klopp had retired. And I heard rumors that Manchester City was potentially thinking about going for him after Pep leaves Manchester City. I don't know when that will be, but it's a good story. I mean, let's give a little history on Ruben Amorim's past. I mean, he played for Braga, he played for Benfica. He actually played a match for Braga at Old Trafford back in 2012. I believe they lost 3-2. And
Yeah,
he's a big Benfica fan. He played that for them for a while. He started as a manager after he retired when he was like 31, I believe. He
because
started as the Casa.
they say he was like gonna he thought he would be a better manager than a player. That's why he retired earlier. I think I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, pretty smart
Yeah.
move by him. I mean, he's been
Yeah.
doing pretty well. He started at Casa Pia, and that's a third tier Portuguese side. He won, believe he topped the league in his first season there. I mean, it's not too big of an accomplishment, but he didn't have his UEFA license because he
Yeah.
just got out of playing. And so he kept getting fined at Casa Pia. He resigned there because they kept getting fined. And then he went to SC Braga, where he played, and he was the B team manager, which reserve side manager. And then he outgrew the reserve side pretty quickly, became the first team manager, but he wasn't really the official manager. They put him as the assistant manager, even though
he was the manager.
we knew he was
Yeah.
pulling the strings.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was only the assistant manager so they could get around,
Paying the
not
fine,
having the
like a
UEFA,
loophole. Yeah.
yeah, not having the UEFA B license.
Mm-hmm.
And then he outgrew that, and I believe he won the Portuguese Cup in those first 10 weeks
Yep.
as the manager
Against
Porto, which
Yep.
is pretty darn impressive, especially considering that Porto, kind of dominate the Portuguese league. Then Sporting came in and paid his 10 million euro release clause, which is the third highest ever paid for a manager. And that was
A lot
back
of money
in
for
2020.
yeah, in 2020. That's a lot of money for someone with not a lot of managerial experience. So they
Yeah,
knew that
especially
he was something special.
Yeah, especially considering there was a lot of turbulence at Sporting before he came in there. There was a lot of different managers in the past, I believe 3 years before he was there. They went through about 5 managers, which is pretty insane. And then they also didn't have that much money. I heard there was a crisis going on where they were spending stupid money on managers, and then there was just a lot of stuff going on. So it was a bit turbulent there, but literally he came in I believe in the spring of 2020. And
Yeah.
then his first full season, he actually won the league with Sporting, which is pretty insane. And that hadn't been done in 19 years. And Sporting is one of the bigger sides in Portugal. But yeah, for 19 years, they
Yeah.
hadn't won the league. So pretty awesome that he did that in his first season. And then he won consecutive League Cups 3 times from 2021, 2022, and 2023. And then he won the league again in 2024, this past season. So he's won the league twice already. And he's currently, if you look at the side right now, Sporting is 10 wins, 0 draws, and 0 losses, 35 goals for, and 3 goals against. Chris, that's mad.
It's
That's
insane. It is insane.
And
It's
obviously, the Premier League's a big step up from the Portuguese league, but
yeah.
still, that is pretty darn insane. And he's got players
I
like
mean, the Portuguese league is
Victor.
not tough by any means.
Oh yeah,
It's not the Premier League, but it's still that's a crazy
still
feat
quite
in
impressive.
any league to have that record. So
Yeah, and he's got
definitely having
players
a
like
great start.
He's got players like Victor
Hmm.
Gyökeres, who he was a championship side player for a while. He was around some of the teams on loans and stuff. And then he went to Coventry, and he played pretty well there. And then Sporting got him, and he just balled out at Sporting. Dude has
Yeah,
20 goals or something in like 16 games in all competitions this season, which is pretty darn insane. And I believe 16 goals in like 10 league
yeah,
matches, which is just also insane. So,
it's nuts.
you'd hope that he can come in and he can implement his tactics. Players like Rasmus Hojlund can hopefully get scoring. Rashford, Garnacho get scoring more consistently, things like that. But Chris, how is he going to set up at United? It's really interesting because he has
Yeah.
very different tactics from what
So
we've
like his
become
main
accustomed to.
style that he's used in his short managerial career so far is mainly a back three. So he plays with three central defenders, which is not something we've seen at United much. We've seen it a couple times maybe under the I think is it Louis Van Gaal, or I think Mourinho did it a
Yeah,
couple times. It wasn't like a set style. Like we've only used
no.
it like short term, like for a couple matches here and there, but we've never had someone who have said, all right, we're completely changing the style and we're going to play with three central defenders. So it could be interesting. And looking at the center back options we have now, I think a back three of Martinez, De Ligt, and Lenny Yoro when he comes back from injury, could be a really interesting back three. I think that could work because all three of them seem very, agile. They seem like they could be versatile in those positions. And then we do have strong wing backs as well. Mazraoui, Delo. They could be on the wings. So I think it could work. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to see, but
It'll be very interesting to see how he sets up because we have gotten 2 new center backs this summer, and they're two I'd like to think very promising center backs. I mean,
Yeah.
De Ligt is a bit more established than Lenny Euro. He's been playing for some big clubs already, and Lenny Euro, I mean, we haven't really seen much of him since he got injured in preseason, but he is a quick center back that can cover. I feel like if we had to set up the back three with those three center backs, it'd probably be Lissandro on the left, and then
Hmm.
De Ligt in the middle, and Lenny
Yeah.
Euro on the right, because those two, Lenny Euro can cover a lot more, can cover any mistakes that they have, anything like that. And then
Yeah.
Lissandro obviously has got that left foot, and being on the left side would make much more sense for him. And then De Ligt is kind of just that strong presence that kind of I could see Maguire also playing there
Yeah. Yeah.
when we're playing against some other sides and stuff, or if it's needed tactically, or if De Ligt needs a rest. So I think it could work out, but that all also hinges on no injuries and things like that. And I don't know, because he does run a 3-4, I believe 2-1 or 3.
Yeah.
So
3-4-3.
3-4-3, or like a, yeah, essentially like
Kind of.
that. And so I'm interested to see how, if they're really wing backs, or if they kind of stay higher and then a midfielder drops into the back line to help out, or if the wingers tuck in a little bit. I don't know. So we'll see if Mazzarelli steps in there,
Yeah.
or if Delo steps in there,
The thing,
even if Garnacho
Delo,
steps in there.
yeah, one of Delo's main strengths as uh, uh, a fullback is that
Fullback.
he is able to like slot into midfield when we have possession and when we move up the pitch. So that's we saw that a lot of Ten Hag when he would slot in into next to one of our other central midfielders. So I definitely believe Delo would be integral in this in a 3-4-3. Like he would be that right-sided uh midfielder slash wing back, and he would be in that fourth midfielder, and he would slot in there perfectly, in my opinion. He's very good on the ball in midfield, and he gets out wide too. So I think that's like his position. And then on the left, I mean, there's Shaw, who could also play in a back three. He's played that for England too. So I mean, I would probably see him in midfield too on the left side, like the left wing back. But we'll see. We'll see how there's a lot of options. That's the thing with the three with a back three. There's a lot more ways you can move around the players and stuff. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see him start to implement this new style if he does, which I'm sure he will. I'm sure he won't play a back four if he's been so successful with a back three thus far.
Oh yeah, I agree. And I think when it comes to the midfield, it'll be interesting to see whether Casemiro stays or whether Casemiro goes in the summer, because I've heard that Ruben Amorim's, his technique, or his tactic, I guess, would be to press really hard and stuff, and he needs some energy in the midfield. He needs motors. He
Hmm.
needs people with legs still. And so Casemiro and Ericsson, although they've had some moments this season where they've been better than some of our other players, I'm not entirely sure that they would work out in his system. I think it would suit Manuel Ugarte and
Yeah,
Kobe Mainu a lot better, because I mean he already coached on, I believe Ugarte was there not last season but the season before. Yeah, last season he was at PSG, and then the season before he was at
yeah,
Sporting. So he's been in Amarin's system before. So I think he'll be very well suited for that, because he is pretty good at pressing. He's really
yeah,
good at, tackling, aggression, a lot of
yeah.
those things that you
Winning the
need
ball
in that
back.
sort of system. And then Kobe will be the progressor that can help out forward and help move the ball forward.
Yeah,
And so I hope that, and you could also see Bruno back there too. I mean, Bruno sometimes dropped a little bit
Bruno could play
deeper.
anywhere.
Yeah, Bruno could literally play anywhere. I'd have confidence in
Yeah,
Bruno playing in net. I mean,
yeah,
this dude is just, I love Bruno. But
yeah.
anyways, I would see Bruno probably playing as one of the forwards,
Hmm.
one of the right or left forwards. He does like to operate in the left side typically, so I could see him left forward, kind of, dropping back to get the ball and maybe spray some balls out to the wing backs, or spray some balls to the other forwards, and maybe put Rashford as the right forward, and maybe, you know Rasmus. I'd ideally put Rasmus up top, because I
Yeah,
think he's more likely to fit the mold of the striker that Amorim wants, because
yeah,
Gyökeres and other strikers that he's had have been physical guys who are pacey and strong and can finish well. So Rasmus, he hasn't been able to have the goal out, but he's probably wanted. But who knows? Maybe Amorim can help him get there. And maybe if he keeps Ruud van Nistelrooy, that can also help too. But we'll see what happens with that. I mean, with Xerxes, it's kind of a shame because, Ten Hag did just sign him this summer. And I'm not entirely sure he really fits into Amorim's system that well. Maybe as the similar role to Bruno, where he kind of collects the ball and helps the play. And maybe he could play alongside Rasmus, but
Yeah.
we'll see. I don't know. I mean, also, I personally don't like him that much so far. I don't want to write him off already because,
No, you
he
can't write
did
him
just
off, but
sign and he hasn't played that much yet. But I don't know, man. Like, I don't know whether it was because the whole team was down and he seemed very down, but he doesn't seem like he gives too much effort. And
yeah.
it seems like how Martial, he'd always seem like he was kind of just there, but not really like
Hmm.
there, if you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
Martial still gave a lot of effort, and it still felt like he was really like pressing and putting his team first. But I don't know. Xerxes, he's slow, he's sluggish, he's just this
He's
big
just
dude on
seemed
the
very
field that like,
lethargic.
yeah, very lethargic. Doesn't and people told us that we're getting this player who can link up play really well, and I've seen that in moments, but I don't know. Sometimes I just see him really slow, not only in pressing, but also when he gets the ball and then he makes a poor decision because he's just thinking too slow. And he kind of, this sounds crazy to say, but Xerxes kind of looks like Harry Maguire playing striker, in my opinion,
Yeah,
which
like
maybe that's harsh, but I don't know, man. So far this season, he really
it's
has not wowed me. He had the
yeah.
goal in the first match, but that was really just a lucky goal. And
Hmm.
apart from that, like what else has he really done to
Yeah.
say,
And
oh yeah, like he's warranted
mhm.
us signing him?
Yeah, the thing with Martial, like it's true, like he didn't sometimes look like he was putting in all that effort, but he had that quality. We all knew he had that like master touch, that quick turn in him. So even if he's not like moving around as quick or like when he got the ball, he could just turn it on in a second and like instantly turn past the player and just like turn it on and just go forward sprint. But like with Xerxes, we haven't really seen that sharpness and that quality. His touch is poor. We haven't seen that yet. I mean to be fair, I haven't watched. He was at Bologna, right? That's where we signed him. I haven't.
Yeah,
I don't watch Bologna play. I haven't really seen much of Xerxes, so I don't know his like general play, and it's still early in the season. But um, I think if you're coming in at United, you're a young striker, you got to be, busting your ass every single match. Like you got to be putting in 110%, and like he hasn't really shown that effort really. So it's a little bit concerning. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if he improved over the course of the season. Because there are
yeah,
times when he does, like you were saying, he does have some decent link of play. Um, but that's not what a striker, I mean, that's part of it, but it's not the whole thing. He needs to improve his touch, his speed, his finishing. So there's a lot of things that he has to definitely work on to become a bigger part of this Man United team.
oh yeah, completely agree. I also think the optimist in me says that the team has just been playing really badly, so I
Yeah.
don't want to judge. I don't want to judge too many of them, and a lot of their spirits seem down. And I mean, obviously, it's going to compound and stuff. So if that's happening throughout the dressing room, where you've got the whole team kind of just not really hitting at all, I don't want to just fully judge him and write him off immediately. I mean, also, I think we're overreacting a bit. It has only been like what 12
Yeah.
games
Yeah.
with him so far, so I think we give him some time, obviously. And like you said, there
Yeah.
have been moments where his link up has been pretty important, and I've seen the team play better just because he's been there to link things up. So hopefully that can be something that we can utilize in the future under the new manager. We'll see what happens. But going back to the manager, he did mention that he wanted to bring in all of his assistant coaches and his team and whatever because a lot of them have been with him since his early days managing. So one manager actually, or I guess he's not a manager, but one guy I wanted to point out that he's bringing with him is Paulo Barrera. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but he is the sports scientist that was at Sporting. He brought him with him in 2020 when he first came to Sporting, and he's pretty well known because he was at Arsenal and he had some experience at Liverpool as well. And he's a physiotherapist that has experience with special injury prevention and conditioning and things like that. So I'm hoping that this dude is, you know, at least somewhat. I
Please.
mean, how much worse can we get from what we've had? So I
Not
mean,
much.
if he's got experience at Arsenal and Liverpool,
Hmm.
you would hope that he's better than what we have. But I mean, the last guy we
Yeah.
got from Arsenal didn't do us very well. So we'll see what happens with this guy. But we urgently need some sort
Yeah.
of sports scientist who can watch the practices and watch the games and
Hmm.
see, hey, like we need to be doing this, that, and whatever to make sure that our players aren't getting injured and that we need to manage them
Yeah.
properly. So,
Something needs to change. Because
oh,
whatever is going on right now is obviously not working. So
definitely.
this new guy, if he comes in, it's going to be a huge. I mean, hopefully it'll be a huge improvement on the fitness of the squad, and we hopefully won't see as many injuries as we've been seeing recently.
Yeah, and I really like that Ruben Amorim is coming in. He's insisted, hey, I want all of my assistants to come with me. I
Yeah.
want my whole team to come with me. And they've been with him for a pretty long time. Most of them came with him from Casapia, and some of them came in Sporting. But I think it's cool that he's been with pretty much all of them for at minimum 4 years. With Ten Hag, he came in with some of his people, but we lost a few of them.
Yeah.
And was Mike Phelan ever with him, or was he not? I don't know if he ever was, but
I don't think so.
we had McLaren with him that came from
McLaren
United
was
though.
with him. Yeah.
But he wasn't with him at Ajax, and a
No.
lot of guys moved around and stuff, and we brought Rude in, which is fine, I guess, but there was just not a lot of stability in those sorts of things. And
Hmm.
we had I think we need some stability, and I think we need, like I said earlier, a guy who comes in and from day one says, "Hey, look, these are my tactics. This is how we're going to play some football. If you guys don't want to play like this, you can leave the club. Simple as." You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens with that. I think, I mean, obviously we don't know, but I think at this point, if it doesn't work out with this next manager, Chris, bro, I think we're just cursed. I think we're cursed as a club if
I'm
this
just
guy
gonna
doesn't work out.
stop. I'm gonna stop watching just soccer in general.
Oh
If
yeah.
uh if it doesn't work out, I don't know how much more I can take of this
It's
going
really
from
difficult. I
manager to
mean,
manager.
yeah, there's been times throughout this season where I've said, "Oh yeah, Chris, I'm not watching. I'm done with this. I'm done with it." And I say that, and that's really just a soft threat because I
Yeah.
continue to turn the TV on. I continue to watch them. I think there was maybe 2 or 3 matches this season where I've not watched the match live, and two of them I actually watched after I recorded them and I watched them still. I don't know why I put myself through that pain, but there's times where I'm just, oh dude, this team, man. And I was literally supposed to
Yeah.
go to
It's
one
the
of the
most
matches.
frustrating team of all
Oh
time.
my gosh. And then
Yeah, you're supposed to go to the Spurs match.
I was supposed to go to the Spurs match. Stuff got complicated, whatever, and didn't end up going. But I mean, luckily I didn't go because
Thank
3-0
God.
and a
3-0
fake red
pumping.
card, and I
Yeah.
don't know, just
Yeah.
so many. I don't even want to mention how poor the refing has been because we're just gonna sound
We haven't
like
even talked about that, but let's not talk
stupid
about
United
it. I don't want to
fans.
talk
Yeah, let's
about it.
let's not, because I mean we're just gonna sound stupid saying that
Yeah.
just because we have been playing poorly as well.
Yeah.
But let's let's move on to how we've been playing in the last few matches. Last two
Yeah.
matches under interim boss
Rude.
Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Rude.
One of our own. We played against Leicester in the EFL Cup. We had a 5-2 victory. I mean, I don't think we can take too much from that because we are just kind of good in that competition, and we played against Barnsley in the first
Hmm.
round, so that wasn't really a test. And Leicester, although they are a Premier League side, they're kind of struggling in the league, and not to mention, I think they switched at least 8 or 9 of their players from whatever their Premier League match they
Hmm.
played before. So they weren't even playing a fully strong side. And I
Yeah.
mean, I was kind of expecting us, if we didn't win, I mean, honestly, I might have expected us to lose. But
Yeah.
hey, like a nice little 5-2 new manager bounce win.
We'll
I
take it.
thought the team played well, but yeah, again, like you should win those matches. I mean, we're Manchester United. And then we played against Chelsea, drew 1-1. What were your thoughts on that match? Because I want to get your thoughts
Ah,
first.
I thought we played pretty well. It's Chelsea, when we've been playing Chelsea in the last couple of seasons, I think every game has been like a draw. Nothing there. The Every time we play Chelsea, it's a pretty boring game. I think both teams the other day defended well. Like there were a lot of chances created, so nothing really crazy. I think it was like both teams are kind of tough to break down, but I did enjoy our possession, our pressing. I thought Mazraoui had an excellent game, probably the best. performance I've seen from a United player this entire season. Huge praise for him. He was spectacular. So, I mean, we've definitely seen players a bit more energetic in the past two matches. So that was good. But Chelsea have also had a great start to the season. So they haven't lost since the opening match against Man City. So they've been tough to score against and break down. So it was definitely a tight, contested battle. Um, and I mean, in my opinion, I thought Lisandro Martinez was a bit lucky to not get a red card in the final minute of the match. I don't know if you saw that challenge, but
Oh, what
that
challenge
was
was it
just
again?
my take. In like it was like the 93rd minute, and Martinez kind of like put his studs up on Cole Palmer's knee or something. It's like swiped his knee. It looked pretty bad, but he VAR checked it and said no, no red. But I thought I when I saw the replay, I was like, oh, this is straight red. And then VAR didn't do anything. So, but that was just my take on it.
Yeah, I was watching the match in my car on the drive home from a trip I was on, and literally the last, I think the entirety of stoppage time was my phone was buffering, so of course I
Oh,
didn't get to actually watch
yeah,
stoppage time, and then I just saw the final score and I was like, oh,
yeah.
well at least we didn't lose, but I was very disappointed that we just so quickly after scoring, I was like, okay, a little momentum under Rude. I mean, this is an actual match, Premier League
Yeah.
match, and this is not the EFL Cup. And I was like, okay, let's keep pressing, whatever. And then we just let Neto just dribble through so many people. Also, okay, I again don't want to sound like a whiny little fan, but did Martinez really touch the ball when he slide tackled to try and get to kick it out from? I think Neto was the one dribbling. I don't remember. Like I swear he didn't touch the ball, but because that's what gave them the corner that eventually led to their goal.
Oh, oh, I don't even
Yeah,
know. I don't even
yeah,
remember that.
because Neto like jumped away from the challenge and Lissandro. It looked like he didn't touch the ball, but
Yeah,
then Neto is, oh yeah, he touched it, and then the refs gave a corner because it's Manchester United.
yeah.
Any 50-50 call is going to go towards the other team. And so then they get a corner, they score it. And I was like, oh my gosh, of course his score on the corner this was a
It was an
questionable
insane
corner.
goal too. It was a nice goal,
Yeah, I
to
mean
be
it was a
fair.
good goal. Yeah, it was a good goal, but it's just good technique,
Yeah.
whatever, all that. But it's just dang, like we had some momentum and then just
And like
absolutely killed it.
when Bruno scored, like I don't know if you because you were in the car, I don't know if you like heard the stadium was popping like the whole match, like everyone's chanting so because it was the first home match, right? Yeah, the first home match since oh, wait, or did we play Leicester away? I forget.
Leicester was home. Leicester
Oh,
was
Leicester
home.
was home. I guess the
Yeah,
first Premier League match
home
since
league match. Yeah,
home and against Chelsea. So the stadium, like you could feel that energy from just from watching it on the TV. So and then when Bruno scored, everyone like it was like he scored like a 40-yard free kick or something. You wouldn't think he scored a penalty like that. The goal like meant something. So it was a little disappointing to then see them equalize like 2 minutes later. Um, so that was a bit frustrating. But again, it was Chelsea defended well. We defended well. It was a just a nice contested match in my
yeah,
opinion. And you can't really expect anything from a Chelsea match. They're always 0-0, 1-1. Like it's the most boring boring match uh to watch in terms of
yeah.
score. I mean,
I will say coming into the match, I was definitely expecting a Chelsea win because I mean they've, like you said, they've been playing a lot better than
yeah.
they were playing last season, and this new manager Enzo Maresca has got them playing some
Hmm.
serious football. I mean Cole Palmer is Cole Palmer, like he's up there with some of the
Yeah.
best players in the world, and so I mean I think we defended well against them. I mean the goal was just kind of an insane hit that how
Yeah.
often is Caicedo going to hit that? I mean I
Hmm.
don't know, but again, like we had some good chances, but really the game was kind of boring. I wasn't expecting too much. What is Rude really going to do? Like
Yeah.
how is he going to implement like a crazy change of tactics in the time that he's
He
had?
I mean, it was pretty much
Oh,
the same as Ten Hag, pressing and the same shape. So, and I think usually when you fire a manager and the new one comes in, usually the players just are naturally more energetic and they're quicker, they're a bit more aggressive, and you saw that a lot of the players usually played well. Except I didn't think Garnacho played quite particularly well. He kind of fluffed a lot of his chances, wasn't a bit lackluster on the ball, but it's fine. It's Rude
yeah.
only has a couple games, so it's nothing can't fault him for anything really in these couple of games.
Yeah, I think it's tough too when Manchester United fans on Twitter, in person, whatever, just everywhere. As soon as a player has a singular bad performance, they just rip into them, and I've
Yeah,
literally been
oh, it's so
seeing
annoying.
yeah, I've been seeing on Twitter like, oh, bring back the old Garnacho, bring back the 49 Garnacho, and like all these things, all these stupid things, and I'm like, all right, one bad game, and I mean, he's made
Yeah,
some boneheaded decisions in the game. I remember, I think there was a clip of him where he should have passed it to Ahmad because Ahmad definitely would have been in, or at least would have been much closer to being in. And then there was a time where he could have passed to Mazarawi, and then Mazarawi could have cut it back to Zirkzee. I mean, there's a lot of could have, would
yeah,
have, should have, But at the end of the day, it's one bad performance from him. I think he can bounce back. He's probably been one of our bright spots in the attack this season. He's been actually scoring goals and providing some assists. So I'd like to say that he's going to bounce back. And I hate this whole toxic fan base of a player has a bad performance,
so
let's write him off,
reactionary.
and it's so ridiculous. Like
It's
the
yeah,
overreactions I've seen on Twitter is just like crazy, and I'm just like, dude, it's one game. And then not to mention, we were talking earlier about Zerk saying, I mean, we were probably
yeah,
overreacting a little bit when we were saying, oh, he's terrible and whatever, and give him some time. It'll be fine. But yeah, going back to the good performances, you've got Mazarawi was one of the best performances we've seen so far this season, and then I really like Casemiro. I thought Casemiro,
yeah,
honestly, lately he's just been really good.
yeah.
He
He
had
stepped it up.
he had a beautiful goal against Leicester. He had almost a hat trick against Leicester,
Yeah,
and he has just been. It seemed like he's been more energized as of lately. Even before Rude came in, he just seems a bit more. After the Liverpool 3-0
yeah.
match,
That's a
he
Liverpool.
seemed a bit, yeah, he seemed a bit more energized, and like he's got like a chip on his shoulder to go and prove that, hey, I'm Casemiro. I've won many Champions Leagues, things like that. So I don't know. I think it's good that he's been doing that. Hopefully that can continue. We'll see if he even plays much under the new manager. And I also thought Delict was pretty solid. I also thought,
Yeah,
who was it? Rashford. Here's my thing. Rashford has flashes, but like
yeah,
sometimes I swear that the rest of the team like fails, and then he just looks bad. But it's not his fault. Like I remember he had this one really nice move on Malagusto,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and and I don't know whether Rasmus just like doesn't ever do this or not, but I swear he never goes front post when he should, and we need more people in the box sometimes on some of the crosses, which I
yeah.
hope Amorim addresses because with the with having more forwards, hopefully we'll have players in the box, front
Hmm.
post run, someone going back post, just things like that. Because I feel like there's been so many times where we've had good crosses from Garnacho or Rashford, or we've had good balls in. There just hasn't been someone in there to finish it. I mean, you remember Rashford had that insane pass to Garnacho. I can't remember which match it was. It was against Brentford. He had that crazy pass to Garnacho, who had a really good finish, to be fair to him. But yeah, I mean, Rashford has the
Yeah.
ability to
Oh
play a
yeah,
really
yeah.
nice ball and switch it out well. And you just hope that now, under the new manager, he can also get scoring again and get that confidence back that he's had, 2 seasons ago. So we'll see what happens under the new manager. I mean, I'm pretty eager to just get this new manager in and get things going. And obviously, I don't want to put too many expectations on him, especially considering he's kind of inheriting a dumpster fire right now. So I don't want to say, oh, he's got to go and get top four this season, or he's got to go and challenge for the league next season, things like that. But
Hmm.
you want to see some improvement. What are your expectations for the new manager?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think he's gonna look at the current players in the squad. He's gonna come in and he's gonna say, um, how can I set these players up? Who is gonna be best suited to fit my style? And it's gonna be kind of a trial and error period because he doesn't have a preseason. He doesn't have time to really adjust and play around. So he's going straight into it. So he's gonna have a lot of matches now until uh, our first break. I guess he'll really try to assess it over the international break, which is coming up next week, um, to try to kind of prepare and plan to see which players are going to suit his style and to build um, a team for his first match, which is against Ipswich, I think,
Yeah, November
in a
24th
couple of
against
weeks.
Ipswich.
So, I mean, right now he's focusing on Sporting. He's got Man City tomorrow. Um, So he's going to go into the international break and then he's going to go full United. I think he's going to prep. He's going to say, these are the players I think are going to be best suited. And then once he gets players back, he's going to, quickly introduce himself and, get everything situated, tell them he's happy to be there and everything. And it's going to be a great season. And then he's going to, get to work right away and he's going to try different things around. He's going to try to put players. It's going to be interesting to see what the first starting 11 is in that first game against Ipswich to see how he plays. Is he going to use that back three? Who's going to be in that? Who's going to be in that 11? Um, I have a feeling it's going to be probably most of the players that we're seeing now in the starting 11, just maybe in different positions. Um, and then he's got like 2 more months until the January transfer window. Do we make signings there? If he's going to talk with the board? Does he feel like he needs some January signings to fit his style more closely than the current players we have? So these are questions that he's going to ask himself and work with his team that he brings in. And it's going to be, yeah, interesting, some rocky roads. It's going to be, we don't know, but it's definitely positive, I think. Definitely positive looking to see what he's done at his past clubs and currently what he's doing at Sporting right now. So we have to go in optimistic for sure with this new guy and hopefully he's the one.
And we have to remember
Exciting.
too that this is Ineos's first real manager that they've decided, hey,
Yeah.
this is our guy. With Ten Hag, it was really, oh, the FA Cup kind of saved him,
Yeah.
and let's ride with him and see what we can do, because he was on the hot seat for a while, and he kind of got saved by winning the FA Cup. So thank you, Manchester City, I guess. But yeah, no, like you were saying, I am optimistic with him. I do think he can succeed, and like I was saying earlier, if he can't succeed, I think we're just cursed at this point
Yeah.
because we've seen some pretty good managers come through.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I do think that he has the potential to be a good manager. And like I was saying, if we don't succeed with this new manager, I mean, I don't want to just say, oh, like we can't be successful in the future, but it might be a long time until we even
Not looking
sniff
good.
top
Not looking
four
good.
at this point. But yeah, going back to your point about the January and any signings, I'm not entirely sure we'll be able to sign anybody, only because we have spent a lot in the summer, and then we did spend a
Hmm.
little bit of money to get him in as
Yeah.
well. And you know, we'll see what happens if we can even sell anyone in the winter. I don't think we typically do sell
Anthony,
players in the winter. I don't know how much Anthony would be worth, maybe a bag of Doritos, but
please.
yeah, if he could bring in Victor Gyökeres, that would be pretty insane in the winter. If he could bring him in the summer, still be pretty
Yeah.
insane. I do remember seeing a quote saying that I think his agent said, Victor Gyökeres' agent said that if Amorim stays, which was this last summer, then they'll stay. But if he doesn't, then Victor's probably going to leave and
Like he'll
follow him
he'll
because he's
follow
pretty,
him.
yeah, he's pretty loyal because he likes him. So we'll see if that actually has
So here's the
any
question:
material to it. But
do we sign him? Does he follow Amorim? While we also have Hojlund and Xerxes, two very young strikers. Um, what are your thoughts on that?
that's a good question. I mean, yeah, it is a shame that we just signed Xerxes and us two are already talking about signing a new striker. I mean, we've signed Xerxes, we've signed Hojlund the season before, and you would hope that they can work out. But at Manchester United, we have to be a ruthless club. We have to say, hey, look, it's just not working out. Like, you got to go if you're not working. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I am a fan of giving people, players, managers, whatever time, but there's got to be a point where, as Manchester United, we say, hey, look, didn't work out. We tried it. This guy's probably going to be more successful at the club. So
yeah.
let's go for him. But, you know, is what it is. Before we finish, let's quickly go over the next two matches because Rude still is at the helm. And let's do a quick little preview. I guess first off, Europa League match. That's Thursday, November 7th against, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Paok? Paok? Is that
Like
like Paok? It's some Greek team, I think, right? Yeah.
from Athens, maybe.
Yeah, they're from Greece. They're the second in the Super League in Greece. But again, it's a Greek team. Like,
Yeah.
this should be a walk in the park for Manchester United. But currently, with how
This
we've been
is a
playing,
for the Europa League. It honestly is a must-win game if we do want to get into the because I forget how the format works. There's what is it, 8 matches? Eight in that table.
I think there's
And
more
we
than
only
eight.
have
Yeah, oh, there are 8 matches. You're right.
because usually it's six with the old format. So they added 2 games and then it's basically the top eight automatically go through and then the following eight do a playoff to see or the following 16 do a playoff to see who the extra eight will go to the round of 16. I think
Yeah, and
that's
we're
how it
like
works.
22nd right
And
now, which is crazy.
so like we're in that playoff position, I think. But, for a club of Manchester United, we should be in the top eight.
Oh, for sure.
I don't even know what the table looks like, but now or who's in that top eight spot. But still after 3 matches, 3 points is imagine this is the Premier League and after match week 3 you have 3 points.
It's
It's not
embarrassing.
great. So especially for the quality of teams that we've played. Um
Oh yeah. I mean, Tottenham are
so
in the Europa League, and Tottenham have been doing absolute wonders in the Europa League. I mean, I think they've won all their matches and pretty. I don't know about the last match, but I think before the last match they played, they've been playing pretty good in the
they're
Europa
in
League. So I mean,
second.
we need to get our act together in the Europa League, and this can be a springboard, hopefully, to more positive results. It is at home
Yeah.
as well, and it's one of Rude's last
Paok have
games.
also their 3 matches have been a loss, and a draw. So they have 1 point. So,
Yeah, so we need this
we
needs
have
this
to
is a
win.
crucial match, and I'm hoping a thrashing because we've got the new
Please.
manager.
Yeah.
So you know what? I'm gonna be optimistic. We got a new manager. We're rocking with Rude for now. I'm gonna go 4-1 victory, Manchester United. It's probably not gonna happen, but you'll take what you can get, you know. So I say 4-1. What are
4-1.
your score predictions?
Yeah, I could see that. Like if we score 4 or 5, like 4-1, 5-1, 5-0. Oh, it's home as well, so let's thrash them. Let's hit him 8-0.
8-0. All right. Love the
That's
enthusiasm.
not happening, but
We'll see. We'll
hopefully it's a
see.
high scoring game.
We'll see. All right, 4-1, 8-0. Now, Man United versus Leicester. That's Sunday, and it's Ruud's last game as the interim. I think it is. I think,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah, it is. It
Paok
is.
and Leicester.
And there's going to be an international break after. Okay, so we just played Leicester in the EFL Cup, and we beat them pretty easily 5-2. But again, like I was saying, that wasn't really their full strength squad. And this is the Premier League, and it's also it's a home match again.
Also
Okay,
home. Yeah.
yeah. So, Chris, what are your thoughts on that match?
I think it should be another winnable game because I mean, although Leicester didn't play their full strength side, it's still like they're players that have played in the Premier League, and Leicester haven't been doing great in the Premier League this season. So if we play like we played against them in the EFL Cup, if honestly if we played like we did against Chelsea, because Leicester are are obviously are not as good as Chelsea, so they're going to be much easier to break down and hopefully to score against. So I think the next 2 matches should definitely be 2 wins for Rude and the team.
What are you saying score wise against Leicester?
Score wise, I'll go 2-0.
2-0. Okay,
Yep.
I like that. I'm gonna go with a 2-1 because I still think we're pretty leaky at the back. So I'm just gonna say 2-1, and hopefully Rashford scores. I'm really hoping Rashford scores in one of these 2 next games because I love
I say that
Rashford.
every game.
I say that
I
every
hope
game,
Rashford
but
scores.
yeah, I mean that's my guy. Like I love him
Well,
still,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I
same.
will always love. I'd always hope that he can get his confidence back and stuff. But all right, so we got 2-1, 2-0 in the Leicester match, and you said 8-0, and I said 4-1 for
Not
the
eight
Europa
nil.
League match.
I'll
No,
say.
Chris,
I'll,
stand on business. Stand
I
on
mean,
business with
I
it.
hope it's 8-0.
Nope, stand on business with it. All right.
We'll see.
Well, that's all we got for
Yeah.
today's episode. Rude, best of luck in these next 2 matches.
Yep.
Please win us these next 2 matches. And then
Yep.
new manager, you're going to need some luck. Trust me. It's Manchester United.
Yep.
That's all we got for you guys. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, all the socials. And have a great rest of y'all's day. See ya.
Peace.